And try not to let stuff bother you as much as possible. But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still. But I was just referring to myself in the past. Not that I was not.
And I deal with your emotions over here, but when it comes time for business, I implement what you told me on the emotion side into handling it in a professional manner, because sometimes it's hard for you. For business, I implement what you told me on the emotion side. It's
the best way to
I'm sorry, is there someone talking to you?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry about that. So I just was wondering how everyone's doing.
I'm sorry.
Wipe the drill.
I was in a trance.
Yeah, wipe the
I was in a trance.
Yeah, wipe the drill there.
In Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. In Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost.
In the wake of World War II, the U.S. government is engaged in a large number of secret medical experiments designed to help win the Cold War. Developing techniques for mind control to create a so-called Manchurian candidate. What is the extent of these brainwashing experiments? How did the CIA become involved in such far-reaching and disturbing research? Washington. Hundreds of American troops are still being held captive, subjected to brainwashing experiments, and then killed. Mind control research back home intensifies. The new goal is to cause an individual to become subservient to an imposed control, to the point where he will perform acts against his will and then have no memory of the act. The search for a real-life Manchurian candidate begins. To produce such an assassin, the CIA faces two main challenges: how to induce amnesia and how to program in new behavior. In 1957, Dr. Ewan Cameron, an eminent psychiatrist in Montreal, believes he has the answers. Cameron applies his techniques under the guise of normal therapy.
It was a three-part technique which started with an effort to wipe out past patterns of behavior. And this was accomplished through the use of particularly intensive, repeated, high-level electroshocks until no more convulsions could be elicited from a patient.
Cameron then plays tape-recorded messages through helmets that are locked to his patients' heads. This psychic driving forces them to listen to repetitive statements for weeks on end to program in new behavior.
And then the final phase was to try to wipe out all recollection of what had happened. And that was accomplished by putting people to sleep for 30, 40 days, accompanied by different kinds of cocktails of drugs. Now that's not any kind of therapy. That's a brainwashing experiment.
This report I received today is a monumental document in more ways than one. Very, very important piece of America's history, and it will shape America's future in ways that will make us a more honorable, more successful, and more ethical country. What this committee learned, I would like to review today with a little more detail than Dr. Faden said, because I think it must be engraved on our national. Thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. The goal was to understand the effects of radiation exposure on the human body. While most of the tests were ethical by any standards, some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were. They failed both the test of our national values and the test of humanity. Informed consent means your doctor tells you the risk of the treatment you are about to undergo. In too many cases, informed consent was withheld. Americans were kept in the dark about the effects of what was being done to them. The deception extended beyond the test subjects themselves to encompass their families and the American people, as these experiments were kept secret. And they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment. And that was wrong.